And we're back, folks, for another Friday Night SmackDown review right here on the YouTube channel, breaking down the January 17th, 2020 episode. I am Graham G. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. And if it sounds like I'm sick, that's because I am, and I have been for the last couple of days now. I've actually been just incredibly congested for the last maybe day or two. Excuse me, I recorded Wrestle Rant Radio and hashtag a couple days ago. You could kind of hear the sickness in my voice then. I only really had a cough at that point, but the congestion came in the last day or two, so pretty much the cherry on top. It's been absolutely terrible. But because I thought, there's not a ton to say about SmackDown, I would still record the video, even though I contemplated bumping it, back a day to Sunday or just not doing it at all. But I wanted to still talk about SmackDown from Friday and just keep it on the shorter side. But because I thought overall this was a good show, a lot of build for the Royal Rumble next weekend and some good matches to boot. We did kick off the show at the return of Kane, to Friday Night SmackDown, his first appearance in the show in probably 2 years, since we last saw him on SmackDown when he reunited with Daniel Bryan for that Team Hell No reunion back in the summer of 2018. He was back here, and I was wondering why. I mean, coming into the show, what was the reason why Kane was here on the show? I assumed it was because he was announcing his entry into the Royal Rumble match, which he's obviously known for. He was in almost every Rumble match from the year he debuted. I don't know if he was in the '98 Rumble. He definitely was in the '99 Rumble and beyond. But he was in a lot of consecutive Rumbles. He hasn't been in it in a few years, but I thought he might be in this year's. Come to find out, he was actually used in this segment to further the feud between Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan. I completely forgot about Kane's history with Wyatt and obviously Daniel Bryan, so that seemed to make the most sense. Maybe that was obvious to other people. It wasn't to me. So watching the show, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So that's why he was here on the show. He talked about the Royal Rumble, and he talked about Bray Wyatt and how he's been targeting Daniel Bryan after Bray Wyatt interrupted Kane here. They actually showed clips of Kane's history with Bray Wyatt from Bray's previous persona, when Bray actually beat Kane in Bray's debut match at SummerSlam 2013 in that Inferno match. So I thought that was a really nice callback. I thought they would just show clips of The Fiend attacking Kane from a few months ago on Raw, but they actually took it a step further in acknowledging their history from the Kane-Wyatt feud many, many years ago. So I thought that was really well done. And then the lights go out, the Fiend comes out, and it looked like Kane had blood streaming down his face. And I thought it was just the makeup, and then Alexis noted that the red stuff was kind of coming from his mouth. So it's like, okay, he has blood packets in. So the Fiend's obviously going to choke a mandible claw, he bleeds, whatever. We didn't get that, though. Kane was never actually attacked at any point. The Fiend came out just as it looked like he was about to attack Kane. Daniel Bryan attacked Bray Wyatt instead, left him laying. After Bray Wyatt escaped into the hole inside the ring, grabbing some hair on the way out from Bray Wyatt to kind of play off of Wyatt, doing the same thing to Daniel Bryan about a month and a half ago. We did not get a hug it out celebration, unfortunately. We did not get a hug from Team Hell No, but it was still pretty cool to see him in the same ring for the first time in a few years. I thought that was really well done, but yeah, solid segment. Furthered the feud between Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt going into the Royal Rumble next weekend, where they will face off, as we found out on this show, in a strap match. The first strap match we've had in WWE in at least a number of years. I know we had a Russian strap match or whatever it was called with Rusev and Cena 5 years ago at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. That might have been the last one. I can't think of another one they've done in the last, in recent years. So, I guess we have that to look forward to. I'm not exactly high on the idea of a strap match between Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt just because they have good chemistry as it is. There's no real reason to add a stipulation in the match, but maybe they'll make it work. Maybe it'll be a fun match. Who knows? But I thought this was well done, though. We then had John Morrison's first match back in WWE in over 8 years. His last match in the company was against The Miz, actually, in late November of 2011 on Raw. His last SmackDown match, he'd probably have to go back a few more months. Maybe in the summer of 2011. That's when they kind of blew up the brand split. It didn't really matter where anyone wrestled, so he probably wrestled on SmackDown soon before that. But he did wrestle here on this show, again, a good match against Big E to further that feud as well. I thought they had good chemistry together. Morrison did end up cheating at one point with a thumb to the eye of Big E, and then Miz kind of helped him win. So they're obviously going to be the heels in this feud if that wasn't already obvious enough. Morrison goes over as he should have, looking like he hasn't missed any time from the ring whatsoever, which he obviously hasn't because he's been working in AAA, Impact, Lucha Underground, all these other companies. He's been doing his thing in the last 8 years, but it was cool to see him back in a WWE ring with his great athleticism. The Starship Pain, as cool of a finisher as it is, what has not changed about John Morrison in the last 8 years is that he never hits that fucking move. Sometimes he will, and like he kind of grazed the face of Big E here with the move with his knee, but he never hits that move properly. Like he never lands it completely on his opponent, which is kind of like one or two times I get it, but like it feels like he never actually connects with that move. As aesthetically pleasing as it is, it never looks like it actually hurts. But it was cool to see him use that and win with it for for the first time in over almost a decade in WWE. So good stuff there. John Morrison winning was the right result, obviously. They did not announce Miz and Morrison versus the New Day for the SmackDown Tag Team titles at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view in a couple weeks, or next weekend, rather. Maybe they do next weekend. If not, I guess we might just see them in the Rumble, and they might just wait to do the Tag Team title match until like an episode of SmackDown, or maybe at the Saudi show, which is reportedly set for late February, which is, who gives a fuck? But maybe then, who knows? I would rather see it go down to the Rumble. That's just maybe they set it up next week. But as of right now, it has not been yet officially announced for the pay-per-view. After that, we had the Usos taking on the Revival and a rekindling of that rivalry from last summer on Raw. They've always worked well together. This was another enjoyable match between the two teams. The Usos obviously going over clean here. A good match, but what I thought was worth noting about it was that the commentators actually acknowledged that the Revival have been on a bit of a losing streak over the last month or so. I don't think they've won a televised match since before last month's TLC pay-per-view. I know they beat like Mustafa Ali and Chad Gable in a tag team match. I don't think they've won since then because they lost to TLC. They lost to Heavy Machinery the week after that on SmackDown. They've probably been shown since then. I know they were on the show last week. But they lost again here, so what it's leading to is the question. I mean, I know their contracts are reportedly set to expire in the next couple of months. In a perfect world, it would be nice for their losing streak to end in their departure from the company, but I doubt that's the case. I think it's more a matter of, hey, we're going to continue to book you to lose until you resign. I think they are leaving. I've seen a lot of people say, oh, they'll up and resign like Kalisto did and Oni Lorcan and everyone else, Mike Kanellis, and everyone else who resigned. I don't think so. I think he very well might be on his way out. Or not he, but the Revival just in general. Both Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson. So maybe that's where this is leading to. I don't really think it's leading to anything specific, aside from maybe their departure, but that's too realistic, I would say. But still a good match, though. So we were supposed to see Lacey Evans take on Sasha Banks. Lacey attacked Sasha beforehand in a backstage brawl, injuring her ankle. So Sasha couldn't compete. Adam Pearce, who's apparently the new GM or the matchmaker on SmackDown, who's an agent, legitimately, but apparently he was like the GM of the night here on SmackDown for this episode. He informed Sasha and Bayley that Lacey and Sasha was advertised for this show. They're going to give the fans what they want. If Sasha can't go, then Bayley will take her place. So Lacey faced Bayley. Good match. I thought they worked well together. The crowd was into Lacey. Lacey went over clean as, you could only expect her to. And obviously setting up the rematch for the Royal Rumble for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I fucking hate when the champions lose in non-title matches. I hate when they do that, when you could easily just book a number one contenders match or do something else to earn these people a title shot that doesn't involve them pinning the champions. But it is what it is. It was a good match. I don't know what Sasha's deal is. I'm not sure if she is actually hurt. She was hurt many months ago, and then she came back to the ring, so I'm not really sure what her deal is at the moment. It might all be just a storyline thing, but it sure seems like they haven't had her get in the ring in some time, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. But at least she's on the show. But we are getting Lacey and Bayley for the championship at the pay-per-view next weekend. So we found out earlier on in the show via a backstage interview that Braun Strowman wants the Intercontinental Championship. He pinned Nakamura in tag team action about 3 weeks to a month ago. He beat Nakamura in one-on-one action last week on the show, so clearly he's owed a shot at that championship. And he wants it, whether it be next week, on this show, at the Rumble, whenever. He wants that match for the Intercontinental Championship. He didn't get it on this show. He did save Elias from Nakamura, Cesaro, and Sami Zayn in the middle of the ring, which was weird. Just to kind of, again, use to further that feud. It was fine. They have not yet announced that match of the pay-per-view, and in fact, they've already announced that Strowman and Nakamura will be in the men's Rumble match. So with that being said, I think it's a lot more likely that we see those two, face off for the championship at some other point after the Rumble. I thought it would be a good little addition to that card. Maybe Nakamura beats him for the belt there. You know what's coming. He's going to beat him for the championship, whether it's there, at the Saudi show, Elimination Chamber, on SmackDown, in a fucking house show. You know Strowman will beat Nakamura for that championship sooner rather than later. It just doesn't look like it's going to be on the main show. In fact, we actually found out instead of that match happening in the pay-per-view, we're getting Sheamus versus Shorty G. So it's a great match, but that feels more like a SmackDown match. And honestly, though, you know what? I care more about Sheamus and Gable than I do a Strowman-Nakamura match, even though that's for a championship. It's just because we've seen the match before, I really just don't care about seeing it, even though we know we're going to get it at some point. But still, it is cool they added Sheamus and Gable to the pay-per-view, and hopefully they kill it. I would not be surprised if that got booted to got bumped to the kickoff show, just because it's a nice addition to the card, but it really feels like a kickoff show match because they've had no real interaction aside from what they did on this show, and Sheamus returning to attack Gable 2 weeks ago on SmackDown. So my guess is that he gets bumped at the kickoff. We then had Alexa Bliss face Sonya Deville, and they had a fine little match. This was, it was a 2-minute match and nothing special. The story here was that Sonya wanted Otis at ringside for her match, and Mandy Rose. And Mandy didn't really get it. It didn't really make much sense. I guess Sonya's mindset was that Otis helped Mandy win last week, so maybe he can help Sonya win this week. Again, it doesn't really make much sense, but whatever, because that was completely accidental last week. But anyway, so Otis comes out. He catches Mandy Rose, but she fell off the ring apron, and they kind of make lovey-dovey eyes. So this is clearly headed somewhere. I would assume that Mandy Rose pretends to fall for Otis only to, betray him or, fucking screw him, not literally, but just to reveal that she and Sonya were in cahoots this entire time and they were just playing mind games with the poor guy. I assume that's where this is going. I said Tino Sabatelli last week would be a great reveal as Mandy Rose's boyfriend. Obviously, that's not where this is headed. That's purely fantasy booking. I just don't see Otis ending up with Mandy. I think it'd be awesome. I just don't see it happening. So Sonya's plan backfired here. She ended up losing after Otis caught Mandy. She got distracted. That's Sonya, that is. And then Alexa Bliss rolled up Sonya for the victory. A lot of fucking roll-ups with these women's matches in the last month or so on SmackDown. It's ridiculous. Whatever happened to Carmella's little push? Carmella was winning a few matches in a row, and then she just disappeared. Very weird, but anyway, so Sonya loses to Alexa Bliss. Sonya apparently pissed at Mandy and Otis for costing her the match. So we'll see where that's headed. It very well might be a Fire and Desire split, but they've already teased it so many times that I just don't think it's going to happen. And then the ultimate reveal will be that Mandy and Sonya are just trying to manipulate Otis. Why Sonya would want to willingly lose a match for that, I don't know. But that's just my gut feeling. I don't want to see it end up like that just because Otis doesn't really get to give them their comeuppance in the end because they're women. He's not going to face them in a match or anything, Unless they do, and unless, Mandy does end up with Dolph Ziggler, which was teased a couple weeks ago, never really led anywhere. It seemed like they were building to an Otis-Dolph Ziggler match. That went nowhere, so maybe Mandy ends up with Dolph. I don't know. I don't think so, but we'll see where this ends up at some point. I'm liking the angle for what it is. It's been a very refreshing change of pace on this show. They have a lot of, good stuff going here on SmackDown, but the Otis and Mandy thing is easily the best story they have going right now on the show. We then get to the main event, Roman Reigns and Robert Roode in a tables match, where the winner got to choose the stipulation for Roman and Baron Corbin at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Even though they already faced in a fucking TLC match a month ago, we're going to have another gimmick match just because the feud is not yet over. Whoop-de-fucking-do. This was actually good. I enjoyed the match for what it was. Nothing too amazing, but there were no disqualifications, so you had to assume the interference was going to kick in at some point, which it did. The Usos came out. Ziggler came out, Corbin helped out. It was just a whole, it was complete chaos, but it was a good match. I liked it for what it was. Reigns ended up going over. The crowd was super into this, so I thought it was very well worked, again, for what it was. So Reigns, by virtue of his victory, gets the opportunity to choose the stipulation for the Rumble rematch, which is going to be, thank God, not loser eats dog food, but rather falls count anywhere, which is a much better stipulation. If we got the loser eats dog food, I don't know what I would have done, but thank God that's not the case. I thought it wouldn't be after the Usos had teased it earlier on in the night. After they teased it, I figured, okay, they're not actually going to do it. Save that shit for the fucking house shows. I would prefer they didn't do it at all, but I won't be at those shows, so I don't really care, to be honest with you. But a Falls Count Anywhere match is a nice stipulation. Then we have the other stipulation match and the strap match between Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan. So they're really loading up this Rumble card. It feels like we have a lot more SmackDown matches set up than the Raw matches. I don't know if we have any Raw matches aside from Becky versus Asuka. But already on the SmackDown side, we have Roman and Corbin. We have Wyatt and Bryan. Sheamus and Shorty G. And Lacey and Bayley was also officially announced for the SmackDown Women's Championship. So SmackDown really dominating the Rumble card this year. And I assume more matches will be added from Raw because they do have one more show left on Monday. And it is like a fucking 5, 6, 7 hour show. But I thought this was good. I thought it was a good way to close out the show. Overall, I enjoyed this episode of SmackDown, not as much as I did other episodes. But this is still solid, furthered a lot of storylines. Some good matches there with the Usos and Revival. Lacey and Bayley will have their match at the Rumble. Morrison picking up a credible quality win. The main event was entertaining. We got Shorty G and Sheamus set for the Rumble as well. Strowman and Nakamura did their thing. The Otis and Mandy storyline's been good so far. And Bryan and Kane got to reunite too. So overall, a very, maybe not a newsworthy show, but enjoyable. The 2 hours flew by. And like I've said for the last 2 weeks, SmackDown really feels like a much better, more concise, streamlined show in the last 2 or 3 weeks than it has been at any other point during this Fox era. Those other shows in 2019 were completely throwaway. There really was nothing worth watching for on these shows at all, but the show's really been better since the returns of Morrison and Sheamus and the Usos and Kane on this episode, even though it's not full-time, I would assume. It seems like they're really finally starting to hit their stride with SmackDown, which is good to say. But yeah, I apologize again for sounding completely congested on this episode. I'm hoping to get over this cold in the next few days, and I should hopefully be fine by hashtag AskGSM on Wednesday and then Wrestle Rant Radio on Thursday, where we're breaking down the Royal Rumble and TakeOver cards. Not TakeOver, but rather Worlds Collide. And speaking of the Rumble, I know a lot of people have been asking. The 2020 Royal Rumble game details will hopefully be up on nextwrestling.net in the next day or two. The sickness really kind of sent me back a bit, but I'm hoping to get the spots open for the game in the next couple days, and then we can go from there, and people can claim their spots in the Royal Rumble pools. And if you win either the men's or the women's, I guess, or both, which is also possible because you could choose one spot for both Rumbles, you win the T-shirt of whoever won or a Wrestle Rant Radio T-shirt. So it's a good deal. So keep an eye out for that in the coming days. So be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, subscribe to the channel for more content. We'll be back in the next couple days with more exclusive content here on the channel. I know there's a new Untold on Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero going up on Sunday. I probably won't watch that till Monday and review it until then as well. So keep an eye out for that. I know we have a new Chronicle on John Morrison going up next Saturday after Worlds Collide, which is cool. But I don't know when I'll have the time to review that, but that's still exciting nonetheless. And then after the Rumble, we have a new 24 on WrestleMania 35 in New York. So a lot of new network content going up, a lot of new reviews and whatnot going up here on the channel in the next couple of days and whatnot over the next week, heading into Royal Rumble next Sunday, which is very exciting. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. I'm Graham G. Matthews. I got to go fucking rest up and make sure I'm better for Royal Rumble weekend, and I'll catch your ass down the road.